Hey you, so a lot of people have been asking me just a similar kind of questions, and I thought now would be a better time than ever to make a video regarding these questions. So a lot of questions I get basically is how I initially first started stacking, why I started stacking, how do I stack, how am I able to afford the pieces I show, and basically what coins would I recommend. Just basically, to make this video as short as possible, because to answer all of those questions, this will be an hour plus video. I'm just going to try answer them all, but make it as bite-sized as possible. So to answer the first question, basically, how do I afford everything you've seen? It's a bit of a double answer, basically, because what had happened is my first property I ever purchased when I was younger, in my early 20s, was a one-bedroom flat in London. It was on a council estate. To make that story real small, come 2013, the council estate got caught in the regeneration spider web. The regeneration spider web is a scheme that private developers and council bodies, whichever estate or location that may be, get together basically and propose to knock down the council estate and rebuild it with affordable housing, more houses for council tenants, and obviously private houses to buy. So they just knock down the current estate and build more houses and more luxury houses. So it's a win-win for every party. Well, basically, if you're a leaseholder and that happens to one of your properties, you're left with a couple of options basically, and that's to sell or take the new property that's going to be higher priced, but you'll have to give a portion of it to the developers come sell time. So getting into all that is long, but basically I ended up selling up. So that's how I got my first bulk payment that I put into metals basically. So what happens, I made a large profit, and instead of reinvesting it all back into property, I ended up taking six figures and making my first initial large purchase, and that was, I think I showed you on my foundation video basically. So I bought a load of monster boxes. It initially set out to buy gold, as I'll get into that. It's what I first started looking into, but as I went back in early 2013 basically, just looking into metals again, silver started popping up as I was doing some investigation into it, and basically went with silver. So that's how I initially done my first large purchase into metal. I ended up cashing out some of those boxes, and then because I started my channel somewhat backwards, in that I first started showing my numismatic pieces when I first done my channel, but I'd already been picking up silver for close to a year before I even started my channel, so that could have been kind of confusing to some people. But that's how I first made my first large purchase. Around the same time, I'd had a small company that I'd started up as a waste management company. I usually like saying that with a Tony Soprano voice, which I still have now, which is my bread and butter, on top of more properties that I collect rent from that I went to pick up on with my partner for our kids when they're older. And so that was that. I hope that answers that, because I don't want this video to be too long basically. So that's how I initially made my first pickup. How I got into stacking silver, it was basically from the conspiracy theory route basically. I was just in my early teens, understanding and just investigating into other theories that others were popping up with. But what brought it to a big head was the Twin Towers coming down. I had a real heated argument with a close friend of mine basically, and couldn't believe some of the claims he was making. So to shut him up, or to just really be able to arm myself to answer some of the mad claims he was making, I went on a little self-discovery of information to arm myself to debate him with basically, and ended up finding out I had more questions than answers. So that put me on to basically understanding where we are now, what they're doing, as opposed to eyes wide shut and believing everything that comes out of their mouth. So that's how I ended up wanting to protect myself and my kids basically from these monsters basically, and everything that they've got planned for us. So that's how I ended up with the metals. So that was very short, but like I said, I just wanted to keep this video as short as possible. I'm also displaying this golden jubilee, anniversary set in the background. So to get into what coins I recommend and what coins would I recommend anybody picking up, you wouldn't have thought this answer from looking at my channel, but for me, what I've advised anybody that's came and asked me is to pick up your government issued bullion coin, basically. So it's going to be a 1 ounce. If you're in America, I would advise an American Eagle. If you're in the UK, the one and only option I would always advise is going to be a Britannia, purely because it's going to be the most recognizable bullion government minted coin, and we have the benefit of it being capital gains tax free. And I'm saying this is if somebody had some cash, like if they had £10,000 for instance, and they said they wanted to put it on metals, I would say pick up, give or take, £8,000 worth of government minted bullion, and then look into some collectible pieces. I point them at Perth Mint. That would be the exact why I would do that, and why government minted. And I've heard the debate that a generic round, when the shit hits the fan, is going to be the same price as a high premium coin. So you're blowing your premiums down the water. But for me, and what I've seen and what I've spoke with dealers, nothing's going to be a highly recognizable, well-known government minted coin. I mean, these mints have been around for eons. They've always produced coins, specifically, not bars, and some have, not disputing that. And it's going to be the number one stable and number one pick should anybody want to first run into it, and you're going to have the best coin for investment and protection and insurance. So this isn't advice to somebody that wants a quick flip or a collector. This is for somebody who has a set amount of cash and they want to invest it in metals. This is something I tell everybody. Now, I've got a load of collectible coins. I'm not going to tell them go pick up these collectible. I wouldn't do that. That's a gamble with their cash. I mean, on the flip side, as I was mentioning, those that could say, well, generic, cheap as silver, but it's not as highly recognizable and it's not going to be the number one pick, any dealer would tell you. And it worked. Generic would be a better scenario for somebody in the US, for instance, because you pay less going in, but I understand you may pay more coming out. Whereas for somebody in the UK, I would definitely only recommend Britannia in silver or Britannia in gold, and the same equivalent. So I'm always advising you want the best government minted coin, the most highly recognizable, worldwide recognition, and that's the best way to go. If you have cash that you want to invest, basically, you want to invest, it's savings, 5-10 years plus. If you want to get fruity and start remixing and having some fun, look into collector coins. That's all they are. They're the same coins with more of a premium. The government minted coins are going to have more of a premium over generic, but the small difference can mean a very big difference should every ma and pa want to end up purchasing silver and you're trying to sell them generic rounds. I understand they're both an ounce of silver, but you'd be surprised at how many people are going to run towards what they know as opposed to what they don't know. So that's my personal recommendation. Basically, always going to be a government minted 1 ounce bullion coin. If I was in America, it'd be the Eagle. If I was in Europe, it'd be the Philharmonics or the Art coins. Both government minted, both highly worldwide recognition. If I'm in the UK, it's always going to be the Britannia. Like I said, this is what I tell any friend or colleague that asks me. This is the first thing I tell them. Now, they say they've got some knowledge in it and they want to know what the best collector coin pieces are. The collector coin pieces I see as pieces that in between the time of now and the shit hitting the fan, you could make a nice handsome premium or profit. You know, if you want to diverse your stack, that's when you go to collect the Perth Mint route, basically. So you're selling those as they're increasing top of spot, basically. Should spot rise or lower, it's always going to hold its premium to some degree, and you can sell in between whatever time frame you set yourself and hopefully make a nice little profit. But if you want that straight up standard security, no fiddling or middling about, it's going to be your government minted coin every time. That's my advice. If you ask me what best collector coins are, we can have that video or conversation another day. So I hope that answers that question as well. I'm not the best at these long videos giving my points of views, and I really should have touched on each one separately and done it a little slower, but hopefully that got everything across. So basically, my bread and butter that I receive in monthly payments is going to be my company, my waste management company, my rentals that I own with my partner. I co-own a few other businesses. One's a, let me see, how can I say this without exposing myself? One's an agency, and the other one is a customization business. Basically, I co-own both of those, so I own 50% of the company. So that's how I make my bread and butter. My initial large purchase of bullion was straight monster boxes, and I put 6 figures into that basically. I have mentioned in the past that I own art as well, so I own that I've always been collecting art over a long period of time. So I ended up selling up some of that and putting the art money into more collectible pieces and larger pieces, which you've seen on my site also. So I hope that's answered some of the questions and got that out the way, as I seem to be getting a lot of questions regarding those issues there. So, I mean, hate or love it, have a last look at this. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys on the rebound.